Look at you. You're proud because you flipped a used couch on Facebook Marketplace for a $50 profit. Cute. Now let's talk about a real entrepreneur. Let's talk about Victor Lustig, a man who looked at the most famous landmark in the world and didn't see history. He saw 7,000 tons of unmonetized scrap metal. Most people see a bandit as a guy in a ski mask with a bad attitude and a loud gun. Amateur hour. The real bandits, the ones who actually move the bag, don't need weapons. They use your own greed as a crowbar to pry open your wallet. Victor Lustig was the patron saint of social engineering before you were even a twinkle in a database. He spoke 5 languages, dressed better than your favorite billionaire, and had enough audacity to sell the air you breathe if he could find a way to bottle it. In 1925, Victor performed the ultimate hold my cognac moment. He didn't just rob a man, he sold him the soul of France. And he did it while sitting in a luxury hotel, probably judging the vintage of the wine while he signed away iron he didn't even own. If you think you've seen a con, you haven't seen anything yet. Welcome to the masterclass. Welcome to Banter and Bandits. Context is everything. You can't sell a bridge to a man who isn't crossing a river. In 1925, the Eiffel Tower was the 1920s version of a failing tech startup. It was only built for the 1889 World's Fair and was supposed to be scrapped 20 years later. Parisians hated it. They called it a giant metal eyesore. It was rusting, it was expensive, and it was basically a 7,000-ton paperweight draining the city's bank account. Victor is sitting in a luxury hotel, reading the morning paper, and he sees the government complaining about repair costs. Now, a normal person thinks, "Oh, that's a shame." A bandit thinks, "That's a business plan." He didn't just walk up to a guy on the street. No, Victor had class. He forged official government stationery from the Ministry of Post and Telegraphs. He didn't invite these guys to a warehouse. He invited them to the Hotel de Crillon. If you're going to lie, make sure the curtains are silk and the floors are marble. Suspicion dies in the presence of luxury. It's the first rule of the con. If you look like you own the room, people will let you sell them the building. Victor gathers the 6 biggest scrap metal dealers in France. He tells them a top-secret story. The government is broke, the tower is coming down, and they want to avoid a public riot by selling it off quietly. He's essentially offering them the deal of the century. But Victor isn't looking at their bank accounts. He's looking at their faces. He's looking for the whale. He finds his target in André Poisson. Poisson was new money. He had the cash, but he didn't have the clout. He wanted to be the man who bought the Eiffel Tower. Victor realized that Poisson wasn't just buying iron. He was buying a seat at the big table. He was buying the right to brag at his club. This is the core of every heist. You aren't selling a product, you're selling a feeling. In this case, the feeling was, I'm more important than the French government. It's a drug that costs $70,000 a dose, and Poisson was ready to get high. Now, here's where the scam enters the God tier of psychological warfare. André Poisson is starting to get cold feet, which honestly is the only smart thing he's done all week. He's sitting there thinking, wait, why is a government deal happening in a hotel suite? Why isn't there a press release? Why am I about to give $1 million to a guy with no office? Most scammers would panic. They try to show more fake IDs or technical drawings. Victor? Victor leaned into the doubt by being a complete and total scumbag. He pulled Poisson aside and basically said, "Look, man, I'm a government official. You know how it is. My salary is a joke, and I like the finer things in life." He asked for a bribe just to prove he was a real corrupt bureaucrat. Think about the sheer, unmitigated genius of that. To Poisson, an honest man selling the Eiffel Tower was suspicious, but a greedy, dirty official looking for a kickback? That felt like home. That felt like Tuesday in Paris. Poisson didn't just pay for the tower, he paid for the honor of bribing Victor. He handed over a check for the iron and a massive bag of cash for Victor's pocket. Victor took the bag, hopped a train to Vienna, and probably laughed for 500 miles straight while counting Poisson's life savings. Talk about peak irony. Now, if you or I managed to walk away with 70 grand in 1925, which is basically a cool million today, the smart move would be to vanish into a sunset and never look at a piece of iron again. But bandits aren't built for sunsets. They're built for the next bag. Victor sat in the finest cafes in Vienna, checking the papers every single morning like a guy waiting for a Tinder date to text him back. He expected a manhunt. He expected the French police to be kicking down doors across Europe. But there was nothing. Total, beautiful silence. Why? Because André Poisson was so completely pwned by a fake official that he was too ashamed to call the cops. Think about that. Imagine being so rich and so arrogant that you'd rather lose $1 million than look like an absolute clown in front of your peers at the club. Victor looked at that silence and didn't see a lucky escape. He saw an open market. If one mark is a sucker, why wouldn't the next 6 be? A month later, he returned to Paris. Same hotel, same suite, same blueprints. He literally tried to sell the Eiffel Tower a second time. He almost pulled it off, too, but the new victim had a bit more of a spine and a bit less of an ego. He actually called the cops. Victor had to flee to America just as the heat turned up. He ended up in Alcatraz eventually, but even the feds couldn't help but respect the hustle. He was the only man in history to sell the pride of France twice without owning so much as a screwdriver. On Victor Lustig's death certificate in 1947, they wrote his occupation as Apprentice Salesman. The ultimate irony for the man who pulled off the greatest sale in history. His 10 commandments for con men are still taught in security circles today. His biggest secret? Never look bored. People want to feel important. They want to believe they've found a secret door to wealth. And if you look bored, you break the illusion. Victor didn't provide wealth. He provided the key to their own greed. The Eiffel Tower is still standing, but Victor's legacy is everywhere. Every time someone offers you a guaranteed return, a secret shortcut, or a chance to buy a piece of the sky, just remember Victor and his 7,000 tons of iron. Greed makes you blind, and I'm just here to describe the view. Stay safe. Or don't. I'm just here for the banter. Banter and Bandits. Shh.